For no other reason, I want to show you the date and time that I'm sitting down to film this video. That's crazy. Hey, so there was a show I watched when I was a teenager called Twisted. It was a very short-lived teen drama starring Avan, Jogia, Kylie, Bunbury, and Maddie Hassan. A very beautiful group of people stuck in the most confusing timeline possible. Twisted was the byproduct of the gritty, convoluted murder mystery teen drama era, a la Pretty Little Liars. They managed to squeeze a lifetime of plot into one season consisting of 19 episodes. These episodes were further split upon airing into two separate parts, season 1A and season 1B. While it would have been interesting to see Twisted grow into a 7-season behemoth and just lose all plot and steam 3 seasons in, it bit into its cyanide pill a little early. By the second half of the season, it was a completely different show. A bad one, in fact. One that pissed me clean off. Every single Tuesday for about 40 minutes per session, I sat there and watched as the entire cast, the writers, the directors, and ABC family itself play in my face. Let me explain. The show follows Danny Desai, who, at 11 years old, is convicted of murdering his aunt. His best friends, Lacey and Joe, are there that fateful day, swinging in Danny's backyard. His aunt Tara is the only other person there, since she's babysitting the kids. And as Lacey and Joe tell it, as they're all playing, Danny goes into his house for a few minutes, fucks around, I don't know. When he finally comes back outside, he looks distressed. In his hand is a red jump rope. He tells them, "Please don't hate me. I had to do it. I had to." The girls run inside and find Aunt Tara dead as fuck, and police believe that the red jump rope was used to kill her. Everyone's vibes immediately dead. Vibes as dead as Aunt Tara right now. The narrative immediately skips forward 5 years. The trio is now 16. Danny has been in juvie the entire time, which at least they didn't put him in a do-rag like they did Toby Kavanaugh on Pretty Little Liars. Don't piss me off. We see that Joe and Lacey are like cordial, but they're no longer friends. Danny seemed to be the glue that was holding together their friendship. And once he was shipped off to juvie, both girls had to deal with that trauma, some social otherization, and the new structure of their friendship. Joe also grows distant, not just from Lacey, but from everything and everyone. Tara's murder and Danny's arrest sent her into a depression. Now at 16, she's sort of an outcast in school. She only has one solid friend, and that's the dorky Rico, who is incidentally in love with her. Which doesn't really matter. It matters absolutely dog shit because nothing comes of it. Lacey, on the other hand, is now one of the most popular girls in school. Her trauma catalyzed her into a different direction. She was afraid of being ostracized because of her friendship with Danny, and so she attempted to, quote unquote, move on, as she put it. We come to find out that she tends to compartmentalize her feelings and avoids her emotions. To remain on top, she holds tightly to her friends, her old-looking boyfriend, and her reputation. Upon Danny's return, he is inundated with these changes. His dad is just dead when he comes back. Apparently a boating accident or something. Everyone hates him and refuses to come within a 3-foot radius of him. His best friend Lacey wants nothing to do with him, and Joe is a little hesitant, though she grows back into the friendship. The only other person besides Joe who doesn't mind standing within 3 feet of him is Regina. Regina is Lacey's best friend, and she wants Danny bad. Even despite his reputation, and also despite her best friend's wariness of him. She comes onto him pretty heavily, even inviting him over to her house that night. She's throwing a party. They mingle a little bit at the party, but nothing comes of it. Danny goes home, which I'll explain that scene later. It's not pertinent right now, but Danny goes home, and Regina texts him to try to get him to come back to her house and to really make sure he gets his ass over there. She texts him and tells him that she has information about his aunt's murder. Information that he has not told anyone.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Now, girl, if you're in a television drama and you start talking about how you have dire information that no one else on planet Earth has, and yet you refuse to just say it over the phone or through text or whatever, I don't care, get some cans, you are waking up dead.
and this morning he woke up dead.
How the hell do you wake up dead?
I understand the utility of this trope. It creates suspense and tension, but damn, just tell me what you know. What is this, Wheel of Fortune? And would you look at that? Regina's dead. We as the audience are suspicious of Danny because we know that he's the last person to talk to Regina. A conversation where she was making plans with him to meet up, and then she wakes up dead. Danny also has an incriminating piece of evidence. The only thing missing from Regina's house and her body is her necklace. She went everywhere with it and was in fact wearing it that very night, which Danny knows because at the party, he looks at it, right? He points it out. Danny has the necklace, but he's adamant that he didn't kill her. So what happened to Miss Regina? Remember how Danny allegedly killed his aunt when he was 11? Yeah, well, that just did not happen. Obviously. How strong do you think an 11-year-old is? You overpowered an adult with a jump rope at 11 years old? What the hell are you doing swinging on some swings? You need to be in professional wrestling. They need you. As we come to find out though, Danny's dad, Vikram, is the one who killed Aunt Tara. And he made his 11-year-old son take the fall. Talk about an ain't shit dad. Vikram killed Tara because she found out that he was having like 49 different affairs with the women of Green Grove, which is where they live. Not only was he married to Danny's mom, Karen, but he was also sleeping around with Joe's mom, Tess, which might be important later. He was also having an affair with Regina's mom. This is why Aunt Tara was killed. She was going to tell everyone that Vikram couldn't keep it in his pants. Regina found out about the affair, and like every other teenager in a murder mystery teen drama for some reason, she started blackmailing him. The necklace that she was wearing, the one that Danny is now in possession of, that was Aunt Tara's necklace, and it seems like Vikram gave it to Regina to keep her quiet. So, who killed her? Drumroll please. It was Vikram. Now I know what you're thinking. Isn't Vikram dead? Yeah, well, in true teen drama fashion, Vikram faked his death right before Danny was released from juvie. I don't even remember why. Like, fake deaths are so funny and very soap opera-esque. They did it in Pretty Little Liars like 10 times. Except for the one time with Maya because they had to get her up out of there. I think they also did it in Riverdale. It's a useful plot device, but sometimes it does come across like very gimmicky. Vikram had a funeral and everything. He didn't contact his wife or his son or his friends. The only person who knew about it was Joe's mom, Tess. He kept in contact with her and her only. He sends someone to kill Regina and thus tie up the remaining loose ends of his murderous agenda because again, she knew about Aunt Tara. Danny eventually finds out about his father, and together with Joe, they track Vikram down to confront him. Like, damn dad, I thought you loved me. Why did you fake your death? Why did you frame me for the murder of my aunt and then fake your death before I got out? That's kind of fucked up. Vikram is kind of similar to Hiram Lodge from Riverdale in the fact that he's not afraid to beat up a teenager. And so in self-defense, Danny ends up accidentally killing Vikram. For real this time. He's dead as fuck. And yeah, that's the plot of Twisted. There's some side plots, including the fact that Joe's mom, Tess, had a baby other than Joe, which she gave up for adoption. This baby grew up to be called Charlie McBride. He becomes a really big character in season 1B. Charlie ended up in juvie with Danny when Danny was in juvie that one time, and he became obsessed with Danny's life and everything he loved, including Joe. So he comes to Green Grove to steal Danny's life. He ends up kidnapping Joe at the end of the series for some reason, and everyone comes looking for her. Blah, blah, blah. Who cares? It ends on a cliffhanger where a gunshot goes off. There's like a wide shot. We never find out what happens because the show was canceled. Twisted's handling of relationships is probably the most divisive subject in the fandom. I think the friendships had the most potential. It could have been a story about 3 people coming together after years of trauma and separation, struggling with their flaws and their similarities, and finally learning to lean on one another instead of pushing each other away. And that would have created a really nice bond between them. Like, what little scenes we get of Joe and Lacey together, those are really interesting and they add so much to each character. And from the start, I have always been a believer in Jo and Danny's friendship. I almost said relationship, but I don't want to confuse you. That's a friendship. She's kind of like a ride or die who doesn't take shit from him, you know, which he really, really needs. They're both searching for a pillar and a sense of normalcy after years of anything but. They could have provided that for each other. And then once Lacey was able to work through her fears and her hesitations, she could have been a really strong friend for both of them. From the beginning, I was a Dacey shipper. That being the romantic relationship between Danny and Lacey. It's clear that Danny is attracted to Lacey and only views Jo as a friend. A sister, even. But by the end of the season, the show tries to convince you that he has never liked Lacey, at least not outside of sexual attraction, and that he has been secretly in love with Jo forever. Let's explore that, shall we? So from the jump, you can tell that there's tension between Danny and Lacey. He stares at her the most when the trio is talking. He attempts to interject himself into everything she does, everywhere she goes. This could be because Lacey didn't really write to him during his stint in juvie, while Jo actually did. He could be curious about who Lacey is and who she grew up to be in ways that he already knows about Jo. But beneath the tension, you can see that there's a mutual attraction. The episode summaries on Wikipedia actually describe them as two people who share a number of intense glances. Back in my day, that's how you convey desire and attraction on shows like this. None of that euphoria nonsense. Like, you can kiss a little and you have like a fade to black moment or a closed door scene or an open window scene, which we'll get to in a second. But more than anything, we make eye contact like men. Lacey does her best to maintain her fragile normalcy now that Danny's back. But she can't get away from this man. She accidentally cozies up to him on numerous occasions. Like in the very first episode, she sits with him on his bedroom floor, just the two of them, and they reminisce about their childhood. There is intense eye contact and near kisses. Lacey even falls asleep on Danny's floor. Mind you, this is the same night that Regina is blowing Danny's phone up, trying to get him to come over. There's another scene 2 episodes later that were imprinted in my mind, let's just say. It's the iconic pining scene where Lacey asks Danny what he wants, and he says,
I just wish.
What?
I just want.
Turn into a werewolf. I feel like that scene in Nosferatu where Ellen is ripping her dress open like the werewolf meme. Lacey and Danny's attraction is so unavoidable that they get down at the most inconvenient and inappropriate of times. Danny escorts Jo to a festival as a friend, and the entire time he cannot keep his eyes off Lacey. They end up kissing twice that night, and in another scene, they start getting down on his dead aunt's grave. Lacey never gave a fuck. It's kind of giving Mary Shelley and her fuck-ass husband. Obviously, this is wrong because, you know, it's someone's grave, but also because the entire time, Lacey has a boyfriend. Remember the one who looks 29 years old? Yeah. Danny starts beefing with bro heavy. He's a Kendrick Lamar level hater with it. Eventually, Lacey does break up with her boyfriend and immediately starts a relationship with Danny. In secret, of course, because she's still beholden to her reputation. She shows up to his house one night and tells him that no one can ever find out about them. And then for some reason, they start making out in front of an open window. No blinds, no curtains, just vibes. Rule number 1 of keeping secrets: don't do that. And I'm not blaming them for what happens next because it's really not their fault. But I'm just saying, cover your fucking windows. Cause I'm gonna be looking, I don't know.
Oh my word, we'll have a look. Of course we'll have a look.
Someone films Danny and Lacey's intimate moment and releases the video for everyone to see. Not only is this an egregious violation of privacy and personhood, but it really strains their relationship. It's hell for Lacey. She becomes ostracized in the community and at school. Danny is seen as a homewrecker, on top of being seen as a weird murderer. And Jo Well, Joe. So, a bit of context. Joe is in love with Danny, she thinks. From what I remember, she doesn't even really give herself time to, you know, nurse that emotion. She, like, one episode is like, huh, you know, he's kind of fine, I don't know. And then the next, I think I'm in love with him. Which is, you know, very teenager behavior, so I guess that's just good writing, who knows? Not good writing, per se, but accurate writing. Finding out that he's with Lacey via leaked video is devastating for her. And for the audience, because we have to watch as the show bends the earth and the stars to make this violation about Joe, instead of it being about Danny and Lacey. Since Danny returned, Joe has been kind of nursing a little crush on him. And remember when I said Danny escorted her to the festival? The one where he keeps looking at Lacey and calls her fine shit and eventually kisses her twice? Yeah, well, he's supposed to meet Joe at the town diner later that night. And while she's waiting for him, she starts applying her lip gloss. And honestly, period, because she want to look cute. I get it, period. In walks Danny. And then immediately after, in walks Lacey. And Joe, she wipes that lip gloss off fast as fuck, okay? That's kind of how it is with her and Danny. She pines for him, and in walks Lacey. There are numerous occasions where Danny attempts to make it clear that he doesn't like Joe like that, not beyond friendship. Like, he asks Joe's mom for dating advice, since Tess and his mom are very close and he grew up with her. And he makes it clear that he is not asking about Joe. On a separate occasion, he says that Joe is like a little sister to him. That would make me kill myself. Even when Joe herself tells him how she feels about him, he rejects her, saying that he doesn't want to risk their friendship because he really values their friendship. And she's like, well, you risk your friendship with Lacey. And he's like, Lacey's different. Implying that, you know, the relationship he has with Lacey has always been beyond friendship. So it never really occurred to him that he could ruin such a valuable friendship. Joe even asks Danny point blank, does he have feelings for Lacey? And he tells her, yeah. Yes. So why on God's green earth? After an entire first half of the season, making it clear that Danny sees Joe as nothing more than his little sister, the narrative shifts. And this shift comes after the mid-season break. So everything I just told you is a part of season 1A. And everything I'm about to tell you now is season 1B. Season 1B only retained 2 writers from season 1A. Everyone else is new to the writing team and the story. This includes Charles Pratt Jr., who worked on more soapy television dramas like Days of Our Lives and General Hospital. I think he also worked on Young and the Restless back in the day. That used to be my mom's shit. Young and the Restless. You know when like your parent is watching something and you're like, you just happen to be in the room and what they're watching kind of turns good. It's like, damn, yeah, they really did that. I used to be watching Young and the Restless hard as fuck at like 7 years old for no reason. The change in writers makes sense as to why the characters feel like entirely new people, and also why the story seems to take a weird soapy turn. Danny and Lacey go through a bumpy moment after the tape is leaked, but they're still dating. They're still into each other. While all of this is happening, Danny finds out about his father and Regina and about his aunt Tara, but he doesn't tell Lacey any of this. He instead starts acting weird towards her, which I guess makes sense. He's traumatized, but it gets to the point where his character completely flips a switch overnight. He treats her terribly. He acts egotistical and entitled. I remember being devastated watching this. And to top it all off, Danny finally tells Lacey what he's been going through with his dad and his dad's death, like his real death, I guess, and how Joe was with him that night that his dad died. And Lacey, Lord, Lacey's like, Joe? Oh my God, it's Joe. It's been Joe all along. It's always been Joe. Girl, what the fuck are you talking about? My reaction 10 years ago was, what?
I know it's a lot, But you just...
A lot?
And my reaction as an adult rewatching this was, what?
What are you talking about?
You and Joe, this is too much.
It genuinely comes out of nowhere. The fact that Lacey and Danny don't work out is not even the bad part per se. Like, I can see how their relationship would be a struggle. What with Lacey prioritizing her reputation, Danny keeping secrets, Lacey referring to them as Romeo and Juliet. I mean, that is just textbook doomed romance. Whatever happened before their final breakup and after their final breakup could have been, excused had the writers just kept it cute. The show tries to convince you that Danny has been harboring secret feelings for Joe the entire series, and was essentially just using Lacey to get over those feelings. Or maybe not even just using her, but he's supposedly in love with Joe to the point where he was sabotaging his relationship with Lacey in order to get her to break up with him so that he could be with Joe. When you think about it though, he had the opportunity to be with Joe because Joe came on to him 40 times, and every single time he was like, I don't want you like that, girl. You're like a sister to me. Twisted kind of fits into the disposable black girlfriend trope that everyone's been talking about lately, where a black woman, Lacey, is given little to no character work because she absolutely does not get any character work. And she serves as a temporary / disposable placement until the main character, Danny, is able to date his actual true love, which is always a white woman, Joe. The line, "It's always been Joe," was ridiculous coming off a season where Danny damn near hates that girl. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying like it's ridiculous. I knew these people in high school who would call each other brother and sister religiously. Like, that's big bro, that's little sis. And one day they started dating and everyone was like, oh, ew. And so I kind of feel like it would be like that, Like, it's not impossible to happen, but when it does happen, everyone's a little afraid. Mind you, Joe and Danny, stylized as Jany, was very unpopular in the fandom. Nobody wanted that relationship to happen. Even people who liked Jany were like, this doesn't make any sense. Not only because they're written to have the chemistry of literal siblings, but because of a viral theory that was circulating at the time of the show. A lot of people believed that Joe and Danny were actually siblings, like by blood. And it stems from the fact that Danny's dad was messing around with Joe's mom. In this blog post, for some reason published on a school website, the author states, Danny and Lacey's relationship is a total sham. The only reason that he doesn't date Joe is because, wait for it, they're related. Joe is Danny's illegitimate sibling from an extramarital affair. And there's a lot of ways to actually, now that I'm rereading that quote, there's a lot of ways to read that and to interpret that, I should say, because it kind of, now that I'm reading it, it kind of sounds like they're saying the only reason he did not go for that white girl and chose the black girl over her, there has to be like a blood related reason for that. The only relationship shown to be explicitly clear and mutual being called a sham is so funny to me. It would also make sense for Joe to be related to Danny on account of his overprotection of her. He tells her that he had to kill Aunt Tara because he wanted to protect Joe, which I don't really know why else he would say that. Maybe he meant that Tara knew about Vikram and Tess's affair, Tess being Joe's mom, and Joe finding out about that would be like really bad. Even though Jany was unpopular with the fans, the show's marketing team highly favored the ship. They largely promoted Joe and Danny, both separately and together, and left very little room for Lacey, which is crazy because she's literally 1/3 of the show's main characters. That brings us to the politics of it all. What does the phrase, "It's always been Joe," mean in the larger context of the show? What does it mean when Lacey, the only black woman as far as the eye can see, is never given the same depth of character as the others? When we know nothing about her family, save for what we learn when Joe is around, when we know nothing about her feelings except their relationship to Joe. Lacey is a one-dimensional character, not because of the actress or the plot, but because the writers and the show itself didn't even care enough to flesh her out. I think the biggest indicator of this is the leaked tape, right? Lacey's private, intimate moment with her and her boyfriend gets leaked. Her autonomy and personhood is violated. And then she gets bullied on top of that. And yet, the moment becomes about Joe. During the initial airing of the show, ABC Family created a hashtag that accompanied the videotape episode. The hashtag was Poor Joe. Girl, fuck Joe. I'm kidding, but it's so bizarre. I understand why Joe would be hurt over the video, but to make it solely about her, that's the issue here. Solely about her, rather than the two people who were firsthand violated, is nuts. Everything that happens in the show happens either against Joe or around Joe. Every other character is eager to please her, serve her, desire her. She is the center of the show's universe, the nucleus of its cell. And that could be cool if they gave the other main characters, the only two people of color, by the way, the same treatment. Or at the very least, if they were just honest from the start and made the show about Joe instead of the trio. Mind you, this ain't my first rodeo, y'all. I know why the show did this. Joe was always going to be the star simply because she is played by a beautiful white woman. I think the writers knew that from the start. They just didn't really anticipate the audience falling in love with Dacey or giving a fuck about Lacey. And they knew they had to correct their wrong, an egotistical choice that would be fatal to their creation. The show began bleeding viewers after it returned from its mid-season break. Cancellation loomed overhead. One comment on the fandom wiki reads, "Hey Dacers," referring to Danny and Lacey shippers. "The ratings for the second half of Twisted have been really low. If they do not improve, Twisted will be cancelled. We know the show is not perfect and they rushed a lot of things, including Lacey's character development, but it's still a pretty great show." The commenter then begs for Dacey shippers to return to the fandom and begs them to keep watching the show, despite the abysmal writing and characterization. That's another thing. Consumers are expected to just take what they can get, especially when it comes to Black women. I'm talking literal scraps. If you were a fan of Lacey or if you shipped Dacey, you just had to suck it up so that the show could continue to run for God knows how long and continue to play in everyone's faces. I looked through a lot of forums about the show, and these threads were posted over 10 years ago. It was kind of trippy, honestly. To see the transformation among the users there was just depressing. A lot of them were Black femme viewers who expressed excitement at having Lacey on their screen, one of really the only Black women in teen dramas at the time. Their excitement for Lacey slowly morphed into excitement for Dacey, which slowly morphed into confusion, which morphed into dread, and then utter disbelief. A lot of them mentioned other shows like The Vampire Diaries and said that they knew where Twisted was headed, and they were abandoning ship before it got to the station. Y'all are not doing Bonnie Bennett level 2 to me, okay? And looking back, they were very correct. It's been a decade and I'm still mad about this show. Twisted had a lot of potential. Not just with its romantic subplots or its murderous main plot, but with its friendships. But time and time again, the writers sidelined all of that in favor of soap opera shock value. And ultimately, that is what killed Twisted. Anyways, I gotta run. I hear Shanspeare pulling up in the driveway, so better head back to that basement. See you whenever.
Cut the cameras. Dead ass.